Yes, she was a Facebook employee at a very, very high level.
Okay.
And that's what I want to talk about throughout this. I have had a very, very hard time believing that she was so naive or was forced into this. And that is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to break it down into, how, despite the fact that Facebook is absolutely shit show, Sarah is not. She's just. It's just very disappointing on how she has whitewashed her role in this.
So yesterday was Dashera, and we actually went to Old Delhi. We wanted to shoot some B-rolls for our music video of the song Kali Billi, which was recorded in Old Delhi. So we were supposed to record B-rolls back then. I think the shoot happened in 2024, but we couldn't really record the B-rolls because Dashera had already passed and we could not record it. So we had to wait for another year to record it. So we went yesterday. So we went there and it started raining.
Oh
Okay.
no.
And started raining like crazy. And before that, so there's this yatra that happens. I mean, the actors and everyone, they travel all the way from, I don't know from where, but at some place in Old Delhi, and they cross the entire Old Delhi area to reach the Ramlila Maidan. So this is like the thing that has been happening since I don't know when this Ramlila thing started in Old Delhi. So that one is like this. This is also quite famous. So we recorded everything. We went to Red Fort and started raining. Yeah. So anyway, we could not enter the this thing Mela area because there were too many people, and it had because it had rained. So there was like puddle everywhere. People walking through that whatever slushy. Yeah. So we were standing on the road, like near the divider area. The road they had shut the road. So anyway, people were walking, on the road. So we were standing there and we waited for 1.5 hours for those effigies to burn because we wanted the video of that.
Yeah.
And apparently they could not burn it because it had gotten wet. And
Of course.
they had been trying to burn it for the past 1.5 hours. I don't know what all they tried, but they could not burn it. And mind it, we were there for 2 hours, and we had been waiting for it to burn for the 1.5 hours because for the first half an hour we were, there was just this anticipation that it's going to happen because the Ramlila was still happening. So we were waiting for the Ramlila. So they burn as the story progresses.
Yeah.
When
It's a part of the story itself. Yeah.
when Kumbhakarna is killed, then the Kumbhakarna's effigy is burnt and all that happens. So we were
Yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
for the first half an hour for the story to
Story to
end.
progress. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we waited for 1.5 hours. Nothing happened.
Of
And
course
then
not.
and then like the stupid people we are, we went back. We thought let's go and eat something. As soon as we went back, we are halfway back, to that restaurant we wanted to go. It started burning. And we thought, let's go back, record the video. As soon as we turned back, it stopped because it was wet. So it burned, but it burned only for 10-15 minutes. Whatever, crackers or whatever they had, they could burn it. It burned, but the rest of it, and the effigies are still like that. Like it couldn't burn entirely because it was all wet. So anyway, I was there for 2 hours and an
And
hour
got
before
nothing
because
out
we
of
wanted
it.
to plan.
Um,
Yeah. So I was there
Now
for
you have
three,
to
four
wait
hours.
for
Nothing happened.
now you have to wait for another year to be able to
Of
record
course
this.
not. Of course not. We'll download videos from YouTube.
yeah, you'll get a lot of stock footage of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair,
This
fair.
this is this is basically Murphy's law in action. Everything that could go wrong has completely gone wrong.
Yeah. Yes,
This
So
that
yeah,
is
is
true.
this is this is it's fantastic. It is the fact that our country's biggest climate change deniers are these religious nutcases. And the entire last 15 years of narrative has been towards this story of Ram and Ravan. And now climate change did not let that happen. I find it, there's a
Yeah.
Schadenfreude in,
You know,
All of them were thinking exactly the same thing, Ashmita. You are absolutely spot on. That's what they were thinking. And now they feel bad that they denied climate change all along. You are spot on. A win for you. A win for you
what?
in their faces.
you know.
I cannot feel good for a while.
No, no, please do.
So do
Yeah.
we have a segue to
Find a
No, there's no
segue,
from
segue.
this
Ashmita.
story?
Find a segue.
Oh
Find a
yes,
segue.
there is a segue, but because I'm totally unprepared and because I'm a rambler by nature, the
Mm.
segue is not going to be great. So you know how yesterday, you didn't see the satisfying end to
Mm.
evil, so to say, which is what Dashera represents.
Yeah.
That is what I felt while reading this immensely popular book called Careless People. That was such a bad segue. Jesus, don't ask me to do segues, Sandy. I'm not a spontaneous person. Anyway, uh, do you guys know about this book? I have ranted about it to you for a bit. Careless
I
People.
Mm.
I had known about it for some time. Like I had read about not excerpts, but about the book online from a lot of different people on social media, especially.
Okay.
So I have heard of it. I know a little bit about it, but nothing more than that.
Prakhar, have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. So there's this early this year, like I think, yeah, early this year, 2025 itself, a book called Careless People, a cautionary tale of power, greed, and lost idealism was released by this author called Sarah Wynne Williams. Okay. Now, I'll
Okay.
tell you the premise. Basically, this book claims itself to be this tell all, right, by Sarah on how fucked up Facebook is. And it pretends to be a whistleblower book, right? I'm calling it pretends
Hmm.
because two things. One, a lot of it we already knew, okay? A lot of the conversations. Uh, but most importantly, it's just a really messed up and honestly just a bad attempt at whitewashing the author's own role in the clusterfuck that Facebook is. Right. So the premise is it goes into details of how Facebook facilitated a bunch of shit. Like actively contributing to the genocide in Myanmar in 2017. We'll talk about that a little bit. The sexual harassment at Facebook, we'll talk about that as well.
Hmm.
Targeting, yeah, targeting vulnerable teens in advertising. I don't know if you all know about this. Like they show advertisements that are specifically towards teens who are, well, firstly, teens are vulnerable. Like their brains are a mush, right? Their hormones are all over the place. They're just going through a lot of shit, which is why they are such assholes, right? But
Does it
targeting them.
have to do any? Yeah, I was just about to get to that. So it has something to do with the ad targeting options in Facebook, right? You can target as per
Yes,
age, their preferences, because uh,
yes.
because when we are doing for Kapow also, we got really creeped, like what all options are there on Facebook to target, you know?
Still,
It was just very creepy.
I mean, this web has become inescapable now because Facebook is everywhere. Like Meta
Yeah.
owns literally everything. This targeting I'm talking about, where firstly, underage targeting should just be illegal, but Facebook really doesn't give a fuck. Okay? And they
Mm.
targeted people, teens based on their emotional conditions. Like people found suicide cases that fully linked to ad targeting. Dude. That was
Hmm.
horrifying. Then, of course, putting Trump in the White House in 2016. And in this entire book, Sarah claims that she was either unaware of what was happening or was forced into making really questionable decisions. And what
Who
I'm
is
going
she,
to
by
talk
the way?
about,
Sorry, who is she? She like she's an author, but like apart from
I'll
being an
get to
author,
that.
is she okay? Okay.
I
I'll get
think
to
she
that.
was a
She was at a
former Facebook employee, no?
Yes, she was a Facebook employee at a very, very high level.
Ah, okay.
Uh,
And that's what I want to talk about throughout this. Like this, I have had a very, very hard time believing that she was so naive or was forced into this. And that is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to break it down into,
Hmm.
how, despite the fact that Facebook is a absolutely shit show,
Hmm.
Sarah is not. She's just. It's just very disappointing on how she has whitewashed her role in this.
mm,
Right. So
Okay.
that's what the episode is going to be about. Okay. And of course, we are going to talk about absolutely terrifyingly horrible things that Facebook has been doing. So, in case you didn't know, this is a good way to start the morning, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So,
For the
Prakhar,
podcast, yes. Yes.
to your question of who's Sarah Wynne Williams,
Yeah.
um, I'm quoting from Wikipedia here. Sarah Wynne Williams, born 1979 or 1980, is a New Zealand lawyer, public policy expert, and author. She was formerly the
Hmm.
director of public policy at Facebook. Her book, Careless People, was released in 2025 over Facebook's objections. So she was at a very, very senior
Hmm.
position. She was a director of public policy. Okay. What were now Facebook's objections? Just giving you a little bit of caveat. Basically, what happened was when Sarah released this book, Meta filed and won an emergency ruling in the US to temporarily stop uh, Sarah from promoting or further distributing copies of her memoir. Right? This was decided by the American Arbitration Association. Every state actually has arbitration associations, right? So the American Arbitration Association is a neutral third party. They decided that they all parties came together and decided that Sarah cannot take part in promoting her book any further. Obviously, this led to the
Hmm.
massive popularity of this book. Like this book is everywhere now. It got
Hmm.
extremely popular because people were like, what does Facebook want to hide? Oh, in
Of
this,
course. Of course.
right? To be fair to Sarah, she has put out a lot of shit which Facebook would want to hide. Okay. A lot of shit we already knew. A lot more credible people and a people with a lot more to lose have come out and said such things earlier. There have been proper investigative reports. There have been Senate hearings. We knew a lot of this shit, but a lot of this shit was also new, right? So Facebook tried to put a dampener on it. And that's why also I think Sarah agreed in the arbitration. She was like, yeah, okay, fine. Like now it's out. Now people know, right? So let's break down the book, right? We're going to start from the name of the book. Uh, and this is the first thing that she talks about, right? Like it's before the prologue. It comes from Great Gatsby. Have you guys read The Great Gatsby?
no.
It's
I think I've seen the movie. There's a movie on this, right?
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. With that guy who dates only 25-year-olds. What's his name?
DiCaprio.
Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio. Him. Okay.
DiCaprio. You just said DiCaprio.
No,
Sure,
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio also is fine,
Mhm.
but DiCaprio is his
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
name. Okay. So in The Great Gatsby, there is this quote. It's a very popular quote. Okay. And I'm going to just read out the quote to you. It says, they were careless people, Tom and Daisy. Tom and Daisy in The Great Gatsby are the protagonists. Okay. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness or whatever it was that kept them together and let other people clean up the mess they had made. So essentially, what Sarah is alluding to is that Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, the previous
Hmm.
Mhm.
COO of Facebook, and
Hmm.
also the author of that really horrifying book called Lean In that set feminism back by about 100 years.
You keep talking about all these books. Please, from here on, just understand and remember this that neither one of us reads any books. So,
Okay.
I mean, when you
Okay, Lean
when
In.
you when you keep asking, have you read this book and that book, we just look down. because neither one of us has read any book. Just
Yeah,
FYI.
okay. I mean, Great Gatsby, most of us were just forced to read in school. Nobody I know has
No, no.
read Great Gatsby for
We didn't
pleasure.
have Great
But
Gatsby in
anyway,
a curriculum.
okay, so it's not curriculum. Every year, I don't know if it must have happened in your school also. Every year, teachers sort of gave like a summer reading additional. At least my teacher did.
I don't know. I don't recall.
That was the only way
Anyway,
to get us
uh,
to read
mm,
classics because none of
My
us
word,
wanted
what
to read
fancy school
classics.
was this?
uh,
No, it was a very shitty school, but it was my teacher actually tried to do like better with us, in many cases unsuccessfully so. Anyway, so Lean In, we are also going to talk about Leading because that is a shit ass book. It shows Sheryl Sandberg as the toxic little fuck that she is. Okay. But basically, Sarah is alluding that they were careless people,
mm,
but she very conveniently forgets to include herself, right? So in the beginning, she talks about, and this beginning is 2009. Okay. She talks about how idealism was what brought her to Facebook, right? She said that she thought Facebook would change the world, that it was, and I will quote from her in a bit, that how it was this wonderful thing that had the power to bring everybody together. Facebook's mission is connecting people and making a more free and open world and all of that. And she says in 2009 she fully bought that, and that's what brought her to Facebook. I will remind you that in 2009, it was the year when Facebook had to pay up to about $65 million, 20 million in cash and 1.25 million shares to end a lawsuit in which Mark Zuckerberg was accused of stealing the idea from social networking of a social networking site from a company called Connect You. So in 2009, the company that was accused of stealing its very origin had to pay up a lawsuit settlement, and she came in because of idealism. Fuck off. But to be fair to her, Social Network was not yet released. It was released in 2010, so maybe Sarah didn't read the news. She was a busy lawyer and everything, so maybe she
mm.
didn't. Okay, in 2009, she was actually a diplomat for New Zealand at the UN, and for some reason wants to work at Facebook.
I
Okay,
mean, diplomat at the UN is not a benchmark anymore, so it doesn't really
that's
count
true.
for shit. So
That is true.
it really doesn't matter.
That is that is very, very, very true. Now, at the beginning of the book, for no apparent reason, she talks about how she was attacked by a shark when she was a child. And in my opinion, the way she describes this is a testament to what a shitty person she is. So initially, I didn't want to include the shark attack thing because there's so much to talk about Facebook, right? But I think it's worth talking about because it sets up the premise for what she wants you to believe she is and how she is extremely unsuccessful at that, right? She wants you to believe she's this badass person who's some sort of a hero, and she always manages to get out of situations all because of herself and everything, which is absolute bullshit. Okay, so I'll
I
quickly
was
go
just
into this.
looking for her.
Yeah,
I was just looking at her books. There are two different covers. One of the covers has, I think, the shark wala thing that
the
you
shark
just
attack
mentioned, and
one. Yeah,
the other one is with the legs. I don't know. So there are two book covers that I saw online just now.
I haven't seen the legs one. I have
I
seen
think the
the book.
red color covered, and the other one is the blue one. I think with the shark one. Anyway, sorry, I just saw the shark cover, so I just thought I'll
So
mention it.
it's quite a major part of her premise, and it's absolute nonsense. Okay, so the story goes that at the age of 13, she was attacked by a shark at the beach. Okay, they used to live in this small town in New Zealand, and they used to go to the beach, and she was attacked there, and she was saved by some fishermen, and then her parents came and took her to a local doctor. Because apparently in this small town there's no hospital. I don't know why I'm saying apparently, like I'm sure there was this part is true, right?
Mm.
But here's where the description gets super, super shady. So I'm going to quote out from the book as well, right? She says, once we get there, everyone seems relieved, like the crisis has passed. I'm getting out of the court for a bit. This is a 13-year-old who has been attacked by a shark. I am sure nobody's acting like the crisis is over. She is literally bleeding out. Okay, so she's basically being a bitch to everyone, like right from the beginning. Okay. Anyway, it's almost jovial as my dad and the doctor discuss the cricket and plans for the weekend. My dad cheerfully explains that yesterday we had tried to refloat whales that had stranded on a beach nearby, and that I had been in charge of two small whales we had nicknamed Moby and Maybe, not knowing if the smaller one would make it. No one is in a hurry. No one asks me what happened. The doctor cleans the wound, pulls the skin around the jaw marks together, and stitches it up so there is no longer a chunk missing. He gives me a tetanus shot and warns my parents that I might be a little dramatic that night because I might be in shock, but I'd be fine. There is chunk missing. And she says, nobody cared. Nobody asked me what happened. Really? It's so unbelievable the way she goes on about it, okay? Then she rambles on for another bit about how she was in a lot of pain, but her parents ignored it till the next morning. They ignored the child who was bitten by a fucking shark the previous day. So, totally believable. Turns out, here I must pause and say, there are terrible parents in the world, right? And I would have 100% bought this story if she even alludes to this fact later on, that, the fact that she had terrible parents, but no, she's perfectly fine with her parents. So I'm pretty sure this is not what was happening, right? So it turns out her one lung had collapsed and the other one was filling up by fluid the next morning at breakfast. And they finally take her to the hospital, okay? And I want to give you another fuck all description that she gives, right? She says, I'm lying prone in the backseat of the car. And as we make our way toward town, for the first time, I start to doubt whether I can keep doing what I have been doing to keep myself alive. My dad, meanwhile, seems not to be rushing at all. He's a keen fisherman. I swear that when we cross any bridge, I can feel the car slow down while he scans the river for fish, like he always does. From the back seat, my mother tells him to hurry. Is this at all believable to you? Can you tell why it annoys me? Like why I see no reactions on your faces, so I can't tell if you all are sharing the anger that I feel towards her.
Not really, to be very honest. I mean, my gut, always my instinctual reaction to anything is to give the benefit of doubt to the person until and unless
Okay.
they prove me wrong. So I am still in that phase. I am giving her all the benefit of doubt because I have not walked in her shoes. I don't know what her story is. So I have no option but to believe her. I can't get enraged jail, so.
That's very fair. I'm sure by the end of the conversation, you'll be a little more convinced, right? I think I am coming from a place where I've read the whole damn book, and that's where I'm a little pissed off at her, right? Actually, I'm very pissed off at her. So after this, she also
you getting pissed off at anything or anyone is not a benchmark for me because that is probably everything. So that is why I take all your rage baits and all your rages with like a heap full of salt because I genuinely don't know what half of the time I'm unable to understand why you're raging at anything. So
That is true.
so
That is
the
true.
more you insist that I'll get enraged, the more I believe that I probably won't because that's my standard status quo.
Fair
Thanks,
enough. Fair
Sandy.
enough.
So much
You are not
confidence.
Sandy enough.
Okay, anyway. After this, she also throws randomly shade at the doctor, and obviously later on she's saved and is alive. And then what makes it seem really bullshit, she writes, days later, I wake up from a coma in an intensive care unit. I can hear a nurse calling my mother as I slowly take in my surroundings. My mother leans over me, looks into my eyes, and says, Aren't you lucky the doctors saved you? I can't talk because I am on life support and a ventilator is helping me breathe. So I gesture for a pen and paper. I make eye contact with her to be sure she's watching. and write slowly and deliberately, drawing a thick black line under each word for emphasis, I saved myself. I had to look up life support patients and hospital videos to know what the fuck actually happens, because my recollection of people I have seen on life support, to be fair, they died after that. But they were in, like, ventilator means life or death. It's insane. And I found numerous accounts of when you come out of a ventilator, even when you are alive, you're in a terrible shape. You're not able to grip anything, you're not able to walk, you're not able to talk. She she's on life support, and she takes the pen and paper and writes and underlines for emphasis. Fuck right off. She's fully lying. Fully lying. The only reason she brings this is to present herself as some kind of a hero. Okay. I was enraged throughout while preparing for this episode. I need some coffee. So, meanwhile, the rest of you, please, like the listeners, please enjoy some ads. Don't forward, okay? We really need to be able to pay our distributors. Just listen to that. Okay, gentlemen, we are back to the episode. We are going to continue with careless people. We are going to stop talking about shit.
Hope you all had a good poop break and you got to clean your bowels and open your minds. Now we're back to again fill those open minds and open bowels with more.
Not
Just
open
shi-
balls. I'm not filling
just
anybody's open balls.
just shitty information, that you may or may not convert into poop down the road. Back to you, Ashmita.
The context to listeners is we have been talking about poop for the entire break. It's just weird now. Okay,
It's not.
we're going to
It's
move
just
on.
weird for one person here.
Just me, because I
Yeah.
don't like imagining shit. So while so she tells this very, very unbelievable story, right? I have no doubt she got attacked by a shark, but she tells this story and then goes on to Facebook. And the rest of the book is, of course, about Facebook, right? Now, while at UN, she's convinced that Facebook is going to change the world. So she says, I'll tell you why she says Facebook is going to change the world, okay? The vastness of the information Facebook would be collecting was unprecedented. Data about everything, data that was previously entirely private, data on the citizens of every country, a historic amount of data, and so incredibly valuable. Information is power. At some point, governments would want to control it. I had seen at the UN how things cross borders that are valuable and touch many countries, raise questions like who gets the fish in the sea? I had seen this with technology, especially when genetically modified organisms became widespread. The UN wanted to set global rules for this new scary tech. For years, I worked on treaties that tried to figure out the rules, who got the benefits, how to manage the risk, and who would pay if everything went wrong. Facebook was going to be a way bigger thing, especially in politicians' lives and their constituents' lives, than genetically altered crops. I can only imagine the scale of global battle to set boundaries that was sure to come. So basically, she fully believes that she says this data that was previously entirely private and data on the citizens of every country. Can you name one person who thought, oh, so much data, and then went on and did immense good in the world? Even before 2009.
A few moments later.
You can think for eternity, there is no person. Anybody who says so much data is there that was entirely previously private, can you imagine what we can do with it? It's a fuck all person. She essentially believes in this, in what she said so much, which I refuse to believe was idealism. She fully was aware of, anybody who says this is aware of what they're doing, okay? But give me a chance to convince you throughout the book, okay? She believes in this so much that she steamrolls her way to a position. When she applied, there was no position for public policy, global public policy, right? And she pitched her way into it. And then she spends the next 6 years ensuring that Facebook is in cahoots with governments across the globe, but at the same time pretends like she had nothing to do with how Facebook colluded with bad actors in bad governments. to conduct literal genocide. And we'll of course get to the specific cases. I know I'm emphasizing this a little too much, but I really want this to register. A qualified lawyer who saw potential in a global policy division of Facebook and Facebook's capacity to influence governments before anybody else saw it, steamrolls her way into all of this, and then was forced to do all the shitty things that Facebook did, and none of it was her fault. Like, I know, Sandy, you and I have had discussions on benefit of doubt versus me, who comes from doubting every single person in power. Does this seem believable to you?
No, I get where you're coming from. I'm not denying the fact that there were some questionable intentions at best. I'm from the way you're describing it, like she's like the Shakuni to Facebook, not the direct influencer, if you will, but the behind the scenes, the Manthara, if you will, or the Shakuni.
Yes, exactly. And Shakuni could never claim that he had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Like, he was the strategist, for fuck's sake.
For the two people who don't get those references, Shakuni. So we in the Hindu mythology, there are these two big epics that we have. One is the Mahabharata and one is the Ramayana. So Shakuni is one of the bad actors in the Mahabharata, and Manthara is one of the bad actors in the Ramayana. For more information, you can just Google it, man. Come on, you don't need me to go into further detail.
It's very commonly available, and don't worry about fact checking because, as the name says, it's myth. So whatever story you hear is as true and as false. It's fine. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, so she first wants to get the job in 2009, and she wants it so desperately that she finally, in July 2011, is when she gets the job in the Washington DC office of Facebook. Okay. And by 2011, she's still claiming to be this naive little doe-eyed girl who believes in all the good Facebook can do. Okay? Because, of course, it's anybody who says Facebook has access to so much private data means the very best and is not at all nefarious, But I want to look at the timeline again a little by 2011, especially in relation to data, which is what she's doing, right? There's this report by EPIC. EPIC is Electronic Privacy Information Center, which is a public interest research center in Washington, DC, right? They put down a timeline. Okay? And let me take you through the timeline. I've, of course, condensed it, and we are not going to go into all details, but we'll know what was happening by 2011, right? So in June 11, 2008, EPIC president Mark Rottenberg, he testifies before Congress on social network privacy. So he basically says that, I'll quote from him. He says, on Facebook, installing applications grants this third-party application provider access to nearly all of a user's information. Okay. Significantly, third-party applications do not only access the information about a given user that has added the application. Applications by default get access to much of the information that the user's friends and network members that the user can see. So he is raising a very critical point of data usage, that I am not agreeing to Facebook selling my data to all the third party. And this is 2008. He has pointed this out. In 2009, Facebook changes its terms of service that allows Facebook to use anything a user uploads to the site for any purpose at any time, even after the user ceased to use Facebook. And it does not provide a way that users could completely close their account. Users could only deactivate at that point of time, but information would be retained by Facebook. Okay, so for this, EPIC plans to file a complaint with the FTC, which is the Fair Trade Commission.
Have we discussed this before? Because I remember we've discussed this thing before.
We must have talked about Facebook because I have ranted against Facebook a lot.
Yeah.
We know each other for quite a few years, Prakhar. I'm sure we have talked about this.
No, but the data being available on to Facebook, even after we delete the profile. I think we've discussed this before, this specific
Yeah,
thing. But anyway,
I think so. I think we have
yeah,
talked about this.
yeah.
Anyway, 2009 and 2010, a bunch of complaints are filed, and there's some back and forth, and Facebook, updates its terms of service, brings down its terms of service. A lot of really shady things are happening. And in July 2011, Sarah joins Facebook while knowing all of this is happening, I'm presuming, considering, she's such a big fan of Facebook. And on November 29th, 2011, Facebook settles the Fair Trade Commission charges that it deceived consumers by failing to keep privacy promises. Like it settles it off, like it pays off, right? Saying that, yes, we did that. So Facebook was fully being hauled up in the government. And while Sarah was working with the New Zealand embassy in the US, in the UN, right? So I'm assuming she knew quite a lot of what was going on. So it was not a very convincing beginning of the book itself, right? And then it just keeps getting worse, right? So Sarah then sets up the entire rest of the book about how she was slowly pushed to do more and more unethical things. How Mark and Cheryl are monsters, it's 2025, right? We already know, like, is anybody unsure of the fact that Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg are absolutely horrible people? Nobody is in doubt of that. And how she tried to fight against all the shitty things Facebook did was not successful. Okay. One of the reasons why I want to call bullshit on this, how she says she was not in the loop with a lot of things. And this is 2012, and I'm quoting from that. I have been flying into countries to be the first person from Facebook that the government meets. I hand over a business card to the most senior member of the government I can wrangle a meeting with. Mexico, Vietnam, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Singapore, Canada, and probably a dozen other places. I let them know that if they have got a problem, I am the person to call. If there's a problem already, I try to find the person behind the problem and solve it. I show them how the part of Facebook they are worried about works or how they could prepare rules or guidelines for it. This is 2012. Does it seem like literally less than a year of her being hired? Does this seem like a person who's not aware of what was happening or is being pushed into things?
Again, I genuinely don't know. I'm not at all, not even remotely enraged to the level that you are, because in mega corporations, a lot of shady shit happens all the fucking time. So I really don't know where she's coming from or whether she's saying the truth.
But Sandy, in that case, my point of this is whistleblowers, right? Whistleblowers admit that they've done shitty things and they have been a part of the shitty things. She says stuff like this. And then she says she constantly just tried to fight it. She was in the right all along. She was duped into this.
I'm not saying that she had very pure intentions or she was the angel of some kind or whatever, but I am not enraged to the same extent that you are. For whatever reason, I'm able to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, and there might be a kernel of truth in all of what she's saying. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, there is. I will say this. There's a lot of truth to it. There is, except I think the only thing that she absolutely whitewashes is her role. Otherwise, everything else, fully believable.
Again, I believe and I get where you're coming from, but I'm not enraged to the same extent that you are. I genuinely am not.
That's just also true for like literally everything. Like it's anyway, so
Yes.
we'll get into the specific cases. I will not be going through the book chronologically, although as you might have been able to tell by now, I am fully going to spoil the book for you. There is nothing you're going to get out of reading this book if anybody plans to read it after this episode, because I am absolutely going to disclose
No,
whatever
it's
the
good
fuck
only.
he's.
It's
Right.
good only because I wasn't planning to read it. So it's fine.
You know what you call those people who get spoilers about the book from this episode? Any guesses?
What?
Careless people.
Careless. Ah, I knew it.
Okay,
Mhm.
but I will not go chronologically, but I will go into specific cases. Also, very honestly, this book could have just been like a juicy gossip column in the Sun or something. Like it didn't have to be a fucking book, right? Because a lot of the information she discloses is fully known from before. Okay, I want to
That's
talk
true for
about
so many
the
books, by the way. Sorry, Ashmita.
what
That is true
whistleblower
for.
books.
No, 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 no. That is true. Like, some books shouldn't exist. And that is
Oh, that
true
is
for
true.
a lot of books.
Yes, yes, yes. For example,
Yeah.
self-help books. Or Chetan Bhagat
And
books. Jesus Christ, they
yes,
shouldn't
I
fuck.
was waiting. I was waiting for you to say the name.
Fucking absolutely horrid books.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, yes.
Okay, anyway. Do you all know about the what happened in Myanmar with the
Yeah,
conflict?
the Rohingya
Yeah.
Muslims and all of that, right?
Mm,
Yes, yes. In 2017, and India also treated them because it was 2017. India treated them really, really badly as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we will talk about we'll do another episode about what India did. But right now we're going to talk about what Myanmar did and what Facebook did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is I've taken all of the information from this organization called Systemic Justice. So it's an investigative organization, and we'll of course put the link in the description.
mhm.
The title of the report is Facebook and Genocide: How Facebook Contributed to Genocide in Myanmar and Why It Will Not Be Held Accountable. It's a very sobering read, dude. It's horrible. Okay.
Mm.
But very, very, like, it does not pull its punches, and it details everything from colonization time, like how the British actually sowed what was the British modus operandi everywhere, right? They would divide on religious lines, the natives, and then they would rule them, right? So British did this in Myanmar with Buddhists and Muslims, right? So that it starts off from there. But here in the modern times, the basic background is that Myanmar was originally run by the junta or junta, like depending on junta is a Spanish word. It's essentially it refers to military power, so that's why a lot of people continue calling it junta. But I think British were unable to pronounce it that way, so they started calling it junta or junta. Okay, we are going to keep calling it junta because that is the original name, right? So it was Myanmar was basically run by the junta at that time, and it was fully a tyrannical rule. And like many other police states, it was fully pro majority of the Buddhist population at that time and was villainizing the Rohingya Muslim minority for everything that was wrong. So, if that sounds familiar, by the way, to any situation in any other country, including India, it's fully a coincidence. I just want to say so. Yeah. I'm not saying we are under police rule. I'm not saying we are heading towards a tyranny. I'm not saying that that's what
So,
we have been doing,
so discreet, Ashmita.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Your biggest attribute is your subtlety, Ashmita. You're very subtle, you know. Yeah. People should take lessons from you, how to be subtle about things. You would make for a great spy, by the way, you know. Espionage is your game.
Fuck off.
If I make it too obvious, people will think that I'm lying.
You know, while on an espionage undercover mission, she'll be like flares. Every 2 seconds, a flare will go on. Like, I'm just letting you know that I'm not here. I'm letting you know I'm not here. You know, I don't know who's doing that, but I'm not here.
Okay, anyway. By 2012, Facebook had entered Myanmar, and they had not just entered, they were the internet for Myanmar. I don't know if you know about this history of internet.org, which was later named to Free Basics, where basically Facebook in many countries, including India, was partnering with telecom companies to provide free internet to people, okay, on the premise that that the only social media platform was going to be Facebook. Okay, so their people's entire source of information started becoming Facebook, right? And there were, of course, no local competitors. There were, the internet access also was limited. And they fully presented this as if it was, the right to internet access and free democratic information. But free internet means information to access. Access to information. I always do this. Access to information everywhere. It doesn't just mean access to information from fucking Facebook, right? So anyway, so this was by 2012. This was already quite a fucking problem, right? And I emphasize on 2012 because this is when Sara was apparently forced to go to Myanmar by the Facebook leadership. Facebook hosted a massive amount of extremist and violent opinions on its platform, and the algorithm, obviously, as it always does, pushed it more. And other very real whistleblowers of Facebook have pointed this out before, that Facebook deliberately did not remove extremist and misinformation posts, right? We are seeing this even today, right? Like right-wing India posts, they stay up, and pro-Palestine posts our accounts are full accounts are blocked for no fucking reason, right? So all of this over years led to massive hatred against the Rohingyas minority, and in 2017 there was a genocide against them. There was full ethnic cleansing. Okay. And this paper that I was quoting, which was which was hosted in Systemic Justice, it goes into details of how Facebook contributed. Like all of this was disclosed much before Sarah wrote it in her fuck all book. But I want to get to what Sarah wrote in her fuck all book, right? Now, in 2012, Myanmar blocked Facebook temporarily. Okay. And Facebook had also hit 1 billion users at that point of time. So they needed Myanmar's millions, I think 60, 70 million people to get onto that. So they sent Sarah to Myanmar, and she is forced to negotiate with the Janta at that point of time, right? 2012. It's a wild fucking tale that she narrates over there. It's so weird. She talks about how her hotel that is advertised as having internet actually only has a book in the room called How to Use the Internet and has no actual internet. Okay. Then it's very strange. She talks about how she forced her way into a meeting with the Ministry of Telecommunications, which she says is still run by the Janta or Junta. And I don't doubt this part. Like I say, she says, but I actually don't doubt this part because at this point of time, in 2012, the president was Thein Sein. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, yeah. Thein Sein. Even though he was considered a moderate, he was very happy to categorize Rohingyas as non-citizens, and he was ex-military himself. So he's not a great person, okay? Then she also talks about how in the meeting with the ministry, she was ambushed with a bunch of cameras inside the ministry. And it looked to her like a hostage video. So just, mild racism thrown in between for no fucking reason. She fully thought she would be kidnapped and kept as hostage because in the ministry they came in with cameras, okay? But some parts of it's very strange. Like the whole description is...
Just having worked with multiple ministries in my lifetime till now, I can assure you that cameras in the ministry, if there were no cameras, I would be more surprised. There are always cameras in any ministry. They crave attention. They love attention. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, what the issue is.
We were like forced to cover boring ass meetings that look the same.
I was one of the cameras for multiple years. Just as much.
Yes, all of us were.
Yeah.
They just wanted us to take their photos and videos constantly, dude.
Yeah. So If
And I'm
it would have been a
sure.
massive red flag if had there been no cameras in the first place, I think.
Yeah. It's not that you're being held hostage for an ISIS kind of video. Like that is such a weird description to give. So just mildly racist she is like throughout. Okay. I want to highlight a couple of things in her meeting. Okay. She says they explain their concern that some people are intentionally fueling ethnic tensions and sowing discord between Muslims and Buddhists by posting things that are false on Facebook. Also, they are worried people saying nasty things about the junta's natural instinct, like that of any authoritarian military dictatorship, is to control information at all costs. She fully glosses over the misinformation part. She just says it,
Hmm.
the most part, and then she's like, of course the junta wanted to control it because they are authoritarian, but she ignores the fact that they also pointed out that there's a lot of misinformation, right? Like it's
Mm.
insane. And then a super shady part, the deputy ministers make the arguments for banning Facebook permanently, and I try to convince them that that won't solve the fundamental problems in Myanmar, arguing that their country has a lot to gain from freer flows of information outside state control. They know the internet is coming to Myanmar. The political changes in their country mean they won't be able to keep it out forever. All we can agree on between us is to talk. So she convinces them to just talk and they agree to lift the ban. Again, I have worked with the government and I can assure you that this is not what is going to happen. You are not going to get quid pro quo from an authoritarian regime, much less, because you say, blocking Facebook is not going to solve your problems. For lifting a ban, there is always a deal, and she
Hmm.
doesn't talk about any deal. Okay, so it's
Mhm.
super shady. And then what's worse, the fact that Facebook fuels this hatred until the genocide is committed, she doesn't mention it at all, which makes me feel like Sarah had a far greater role to play in all of this than
Mhm.
she wanted to admit. Right? It's ads time again. We're going to go on a quick break and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Sheryl Sandberg. She is my favorite horrible woman of ever. She has set back feminism by so much, dude. She's a terrible, terrible person. And I'm fully with Sarah when she talks about Sheryl Sandberg because just a horrid woman. Horrid woman. So we're going to talk about her. It's going to be fun.
Much like the shady deals that Sarah may or may not have made with the Myanmar government at the time, we have definitely made some shady deals with some ad companies, and you will get to hear those right, during this break. And we'll see you on the other side.
So you know the character Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada. Basically, she's this devil boss, right? Like she
Hmm.
she fully is she.
I know where you're heading.
It's this one particular gentleman in his 50s that we worked with. Okay, that kind of a person, but I honestly don't know if Sheryl Sandberg was good at her job because this gentleman very clearly wasn't the one that I'm talking about. He is terrible at his job. Sheryl Sandberg might have been good at her job. I don't know. Okay. But I want to give you a little bit of a background. She's a terrible person. Okay. Now, she wrote this book called Lean In, which is
Hmm.
essentially a series of principles that advises women on navigating the systemic biases. And the way she has designed these principles is by actions that basically solve nothing. Systemic biases, systemic problems require people in power to make certain changes. It cannot
Hmm.
be solved by the people who are being discriminated against to do anything, right? I'll give you an example of one of her principles. It's one of the more fucked up principles, right? And they seem very innocent and innocuous at the beginning, but then they have a lot of problems. So she says one of her principles is don't leave before you leave. In Wikipedia, I'm quoting from Wikipedia. The author
Hmm.
states that she has seen women forego career advancement for family but that she feels that some women do this too far in advance of developing family life. Anecdotes are given about Peggy Orenstein finding that even young girls imagine giving up career options to favor family life. The author then states that as a hiring and promoting manager, she often asks women of a certain age whether they plan to have children. She further states that she does not transgress discrimination laws against women who will need time off from work to have children, but rather wants the employees to be comfortable taking positions even when they are about to have a child. That's why she asks, are you
Mhm.
about to this? Which in her country is very illegal. You cannot ask people, are you about to have a child? And her concept is work till the last moment. Don't think about family while you're working, just devote your entire energies to work, which is a fuck all advice, right? And she does this, like, this is not just this book Lean In, right? It's Sheryl Sandberg as a whole. And my sister told me about her other book called Option B, which is about, by the way, dealing with grief when her husband dies. So Option B is a very ominous title to have. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, my sister, and I'm quoting my sister here, she says she gives examples from her own experience that people should follow. Example, her kids were missing their dad on his birthday, so she took them to Elon Musk's rocket launch. And when they were inside the spaceship, they felt better. That's the advice. Take your grieving kids to a spaceship.
That's good advice, to be honest.
Yeah, affordable advice.
If only I could find a
Everybody can do
Completely
spaceship
it.
doable.
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the book is like that. And Lean In is also like that. Like it's from a very, very privileged point of view and very often to absolve herself
Mhm.
of any responsibility, right? Now, back to Sarah's book. Sarah also points out really, really troublesome issues. Some of them I feel are exaggerated to a certain extent. Like Sarah talks about how she logged into her email while giving birth. Not before, not in like the labor room or anything, but while giving birth to her first child, to email some talking points to Cheryl. And this is literally like one of the dialogues in the book is she's like, let me push send. And the doctor is like, you have to push but not send. Like the doctor is asking her to push at that point of time. Totally believable considering what we all know about how easy childbirth is, how very you can totally work while fucking pushing.
Yeah, I mean, it was not that difficult for me during my first child, but probably the next time around I'll keep that in mind.
Huh?
It was spit out my coffee on my laptop, Sandy. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, so some exaggerated things, but then much more believable things also. Like Cheryl asks her to hire a Filipina nanny,
Mm,
specifically Filipina, okay?
mm,
So that she can do her work and people don't have to hear a baby in the background of calls. Absolutely in character, in line with the character of Sheryl Sandberg, what we have seen throughout the years, right? She also talks about how when she thought her baby's life was in danger, there was this incident where the baby was at home with the nanny and the nanny got locked outside the house and there was a fire department that had to be called. You are seeing that through a baby monitor, you are going to be absolutely like I would fully have a meltdown. And I don't even like children. I mean, of course, if a child is dying in front of me, I would be extremely disturbed. And you don't know what is going on with your baby. You're in a different country. You're seeing through the baby monitor. You're on a call with your husband who's telling you that, I still don't know what is going on. You're going to have a full blown panic attack, right? And very
Mhm.
rightly, she does. Sarah does. And later on, Cheryl chastised her for talking about it to her seniors who just happened to be in the car with her. Like she's like, keep your baby and nanny issues outside. Don't talk about them to the senior management. And then there's some really weird part about how Cheryl makes grown ass women come to bed with her on her private jet, that is harassment. That is not even borderline. That is fully harassment. All of what she says about Cheryl throughout the book is what people knew. That bed thing was new,
Mm.
but that Cheryl Sandberg is a monster, and it literally could have been a tabloid column. It did not. Again, I repeat, it did not have to be a fucking book, right?
Mm.
So she mentions. I just wanted to give some gossip about Cheryl Sandberg in between.
Of
But
Mm.
course.
now is Sarah's main whistleblowing, which is the China debacle. Basically, what has happened is Facebook has developed and tested content censorship software tailored to
Mm.
comply with the CCP demands. CCP is in the Chinese Communist Party,
Communist
right?
Party.
And that included creating a role as the chief editor, okay, that was nominated by the CCP, who would have the authority to control content removals and platform shutdowns during
Hmm.
sensitive political dates, like elections and everything, basically just government censorship. Also, Facebook agreed to remove and block pages and accounts of Chinese dissenters.
Mm.
Okay. So there was this very prominent dissident, Guo Wenghui, whose page they, I think in 2025, till 2025, till now also his page is not brought back up. It's been removed
Mm.
to maintain relations with the Communist Party. More problematic things. Facebook also planned to localize user data in China. So the Chinese authorities have the access to data. Also, apparently, they shared information about US AI research efforts with Chinese entities as a part of the negotiation strategies, right? And they
Mm.
gave it a weird nickname that tech industry does this. Like big tech has this problem of giving weird nicknames that make them seem heroic, but actually do a lot of villainous action. So they gave this nickname Aldrin, like Buzz Aldrin.
Do you know what it is called?
Aldrin, yeah. I
No,
just
it's
said
called
Aldrin.
it's called big tech energy.
Nicely done.
Mm.
Yes. Now, all of this is, of course, now being investigated. But let's be honest, nothing about this is surprising, right? Like, Facebook is a horrible company, and Mark Zuckerberg and his gang of leadership are disgusting, soul sucking monsters. What annoys me, like I've mentioned, is how far Sarah has gone in the book, repeatedly assuring us that she had no part to play in this, right?
Mm.
Of
So
course.
she starts off in July 2014, okay, which is when Mark Zuckerberg sent an email to his top brass that they needed to get inroads in China because, it's a gigantic market, right? Right after that, she talks about how she backed off. Okay. She says, I don't believe Facebook is going to get into China. The mission of the company, making the world more open and connected, is the exact opposite of what the Chinese Communist Party wants, particularly under President Xi Jinping.
Hmm.
I can't. What? That's his name, Prakhar. Don't.
Now, I know the way you stopped and looked.
Because I wanted to
Because
ensure that I'm pronouncing it
Yes,
correctly.
that is why I laughed. Okay.
I can't imagine they'd allowed. I'm going back to the quote. I can't imagine they'd allow us in, and I don't want to help Facebook try. The way I see it, the only way in will be to collaborate with the CCP and make compromises we shouldn't. I tell Marne, and I think she gets it. She takes on nearly all China related tasks herself. Marne is basically the chief business officer at Meta, and
Hmm.
she was the one who hired Sarah in 2011. And Sarah essentially has good things to say about Marne. Okay, so there's not much of
Hmm.
a like discussion to be had there. She apparently likes her. Okay. Every time there's a mention of how Facebook leadership absolutely declared their plans in China, right? Fully declaring what they are going to do. This is the narrative Sarah takes. She's like, including sharing user data with the Chinese Communist Party, by the way. She brushes it off saying, it couldn't possibly happen. It's against Facebook's mission, which is, connecting the world and making it more open, which is such bullshit because Facebook's mission is to make profit at all costs, more and more profit. And the director of public policy knows that. There is no way the director of public policy, if you were a mid-level employee, if you were a junior employee, I would buy this. You are the one who, in your own words, is the first person who talks to governments on behalf of Facebook. You knew all of this fucking thing. So this is throughout the book a pattern. Some terrible illegal shit that Facebook management is doing. Sarah is completely against it, but playing along nonetheless, or acting as if she was unaware of it all along and trying to convince us, the readers, that she had no choice. I will, again, in an attempt to be fair to her, there are a bunch of things that she genuinely seems to be coerced into. Okay, so I will just mention this. Like, there was this one time, very disturbingly, she almost died while giving birth to her second child, but was forced to return to work. Like, she was going through terrible, heavy blood loss, hemorrhaging blood, and she was forced to return to work. Then there is her boss, Joel Kaplan. Joel Kaplan, if you don't know about him, let me read out what Wikipedia says. A long-time Republican political operative, Kaplan served 8 years in the George W. Bush administration, including as White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. So, all the traits of a good person, I guess, He constantly sexually harasses her and other people also, right? And considering what his previous role was, I have no trouble believing it, okay? And very honestly, Joel is absolutely the worst fucking person. Like, he is the spawn of the devil and needs another episode just for him. He's just horrifyingly bad. Then she also talks about how Facebook continued sending her to really high risk areas like the Myanmar incident. And not risky because Sarah was racist about it, but risky because it was actually a military, authoritarian rule. Okay, with absolutely no consideration to her personal safety. And they apparently do this with a lot of other employees as well. Like, people have literally gone to jail for Facebook. Okay, they're employees and Facebook does not give a fuck, right? So I have no problem believing this, right? Facebook is just run by sheer monsters. But there have been other whistleblowers, and I will just talk about them in a bit, who have disclosed a lot of this at much larger personal peril, right? But Sarah was in a position of power. While she was there were a lot of reports and investigations showing exactly what Facebook was fucking up to. So there's no accountability. In this entire book, zero accountability Sarah takes. And I think her intentions sort of become clear and there are some cracks that start showing, right? And I will quote from some of the cracks. Where her intentions start becoming clear, right? There's a time when Sarah is mulling over leaving Facebook and she says, like most tech companies, Facebook offers equity grants. And since the time I joined pre-IPO, these have become seriously valuable. My bosses earn astonishing amounts of money, the sort of money that ensures they will never need to work again. My equity grants are definitely not at that level, probably because I didn't know what equity was when I started at Facebook, so never negotiated or asked for more. But after years at Facebook, they are worth serious money, potentially millions of dollars, meted out over 4-year cycles, but only if I stay in the company. That's hard to grapple with as the main earner in our household. Leaving could potentially mean losing all of that. I want to unpack this a little bit. Firstly, yes, vested, shares are a real concept. Okay? But you're telling me you're pre-IPO and you don't have enough money already? Like in 2013, 14? Like, Let's be very real about this. She's a fucking rich person. Secondly, her husband is a journalist. He also makes money. Not as much as Sarah does, but he makes money. Okay? So she can step back and search for a different job. It is possible. She just doesn't want to do it. She loses too much money on it, right? So that's why she doesn't do it, right? There's also another time when she mentions, how she has always strayed away from China. And there is this one part where she's forced into dealing with China, right? She's forced to take up either the Latin American market or the Asian market. And when she chooses Latin America, because she doesn't want to deal with China, the management forces her to find her replacement, and in the interim continue working with China. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is where she says, in the past, when I expressed dissent about what Facebook was attempting in China, I was removed from the China team. Now, in a totalitarian move I suspect the Chinese leadership would admire, again, mild racism. As a result of dissent in other areas, I am being installed to run it against my will, a test of loyalty to the regime. China has always been first in the things I don't want to know about Facebook. I'd rather not know the worst about this place I have devoted so many years of my life to. My plan is to hire someone and get out of Facebook. She's talking about in 2017. China debacle started in 2014. She had a lot of time to decide not to be a part of Facebook. Also, the idea that the director of public policy globally, and China very much being a part of the global policy, her solution was to look away and pretend nothing was happening. How is that responsible? How is that dissent? She has no clue of what dissent is. And also, at this point of time, 2017, she discovers all of the shit show, because now she's part of the China team, right? And she discovers all of the shit show that's going on with Facebook in China, but does nothing at the time. Finally, she is fired, citing reasons of performance, but it comes right after she files a sexual harassment complaint against Joel Kaplan. So,
Mhm.
pretty sure that had something to do with it. But let me tell you what she says about her firing. So that's how it ended for me at Facebook. I faced the behavior so many women at Facebook and other tech firms have faced. I wasn't silent enough. I want to pause here and say this is bullshit. 6 years at Facebook, she was very much silent enough. Okay? She was, as the director of global policy, she could say certain things, right? Anyway, she continues, but if they hadn't thrown me out, I wouldn't have lasted much longer at the company anyway. I had told myself I could do more on the inside than the outside, but realistically, being the grit in the machine wasn't working. It took her 6 years to realize this. Absolute bullshit. She signs also a non disparagement agreement, which is basically she's going to keep shut.
Mhm.
She cannot say anything against Facebook, and it can be safely presumed that she was paid a lot to keep shut, which she did. So honestly, good on her. Like honest, that part is good that she fully,
But usually
didn't
these agreements
violate.
have a time limit on them, no? It's not like for till the day you die sort of thing. It must be like the next 5 years or whatever.
I don't really know. I haven't looked into that, but also from what I remember, there was a part about these NDAs becoming illegal, that you cannot talk about the illegal shit your company is doing just because you've signed an NDA. So I don't really know like what the issue was. One part, the fact that she was shut down by the arbitration committee to promote her book might show that there is some water in the agreement to hold, like
Mhm.
that agreement had some legal standing, but honestly, I don't know the legality of it. So we are coming to the end of the book, right? If the end of the book, for some reason, she pitches her new project on AI, yeah, and it sounds horrifying. Like it sounds like a horrible project. Let me read it out to you. I began working on something called the Track 2 Dialogue on Artificial Intelligence in National Security Development and Application of Artificial Intelligence Enabled Military Systems. The jargon disguises something much more interesting: unofficial negotiations between the US and China on AI weapons, trying to answer some of the most fundamental existential questions. Should a human be involved before nuclear weapons are triggered? Should lethal or non lethal AI weapons operate under human oversight or control? Or what rules need to be in place to avoid inadvertent escalation with the use of AI-enabled weapons systems in warfare. All questions humans have never had to deal with before. The fact that these are, one, unofficial negotiations. Secondly, the fact that AI weapons are not being immediately shut down is horrifying. I'm fully in line with what Sarah would do, to be very honest. Like, she does seem to be inclined towards very, very, like, really horrifying things and making them look like idealistic things. And I wouldn't be surprised if 10 years down the line, she comes out with another book showcasing how these negotiations were absolutely horrifying to begin with, which you can tell by reading one paragraph, right? So she plays dumb throughout her career, which just makes me despise her, right?
And I think her next
Now,
book will
yeah.
probably be called Brainless People or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Then why
Yeah.
is this a bestseller and how are people liking this book?
Yeah, there is a lot of good reviews on this book as well. But there are a lot
Hmm.
of people like I'm not the only person to say that this book is like a shitty ass book. Like there are a lot of people who have pointed
Hmm.
out what a miserable fuck of a job she has done in not taking any accountability. Like if you go to Goodreads and read the reviews, a lot of them, right? And I was also looking into other real whistleblowers, and those people have had consequences. Like there was this guy, Christopher
Hmm.
Wiley. Okay. Christopher Wiley worked for Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica was a research company and helped develop a product. Like this guy, Christopher Wiley, helped develop a product that illegally scraped data of US citizens from Facebook and used them to profile voters and push particular political messaging. So that's how directly influenced Trump coming to power in 2016. And in 2018, Christopher Wiley exposed this scandal. But I want to note a couple of important distinctions. So he helped found this company in 2013, helped found this product in 2013, and
Hmm.
was very unhappy with what his bosses were doing. Although I don't know what he expected to be done with this shitty invention of profiling voters. But he did that in 2013, and in 2014 he resigned. Unlike
Hmm.
Sarah, who goes through with this for till the time she was fucking fired. Okay, and in an interview with the Time magazine, he also admits his role. He says his real failure was in not realizing the potential misuse of his research earlier. You're going to get into a situation where you have created an atomic bomb, he says, pausing before carrying on more softly. And that harms a lot of people. And since then, he has tried to work towards it. I'm not saying that he's absolved himself of all the shitty things he has done. He's done some terrible things. Even though he resigned before Trump was elected, he had enough of a guilt conscience to come out and do something about it, you know. Then there was Sophie Zhang. Sophie Zhang was she was a part of the Facebook site integrity fake engagement team. Basically, they would deal with bots, okay, which were often controlled by authoritarian regimes. And she was there from 2018 to 2020. And she, as a mid-level employee, unlike Sarah, who was a fucking director, a mid-level employee would end up removing these fake posts without approval from, or even sometimes without improving the management. Sarah just went along with everything. And then finally, Sophie Zhang was fired in 2020. Right? There was also Frances Huagen, who in 2019 he joined she joined Facebook, and she was interested in combating misinformation, and she was a part of the civic integrity team. And while in Facebook, when she developed, like the 2020 elections happened, and she found out how Facebook was not at all interested in civic integrity and removing misinformation, she decided to become a whistleblower then. And she started gathering all of the information and left Facebook in May 2021, 2021, and went public with the information. So again, a mid-level employee, right? Not a director. So people far, far less powerful than Sarah Wynne Williams have taken up much more important roles than what she did, and did so much at a much larger personal and professional peril. I think Sarah, everything Sarah, I want to caveat this, everything Sarah accuses Facebook of is correct and it's important. But it's infuriating that the way she has chosen to go about this is by taking no accountability. It's just shameful, right? So Facebook top brass are not the ones I would categorize as careless people. They are just pure filth. They are evil, disgusting human beings. Sarah is the real careless person here.
Recommendation time.
Yeah, my recommendation, two things. One, because if you are interested in the Facebook debacle, and if you really want to know how terrible these people are, I recommend not buying Sarah's book anymore, but actually looking at more relevant information. So Behind the Bastards has done two-parter series, like one in 2020 on Mark Zuckerberg, and then another, I think, in 2021. That both of those are significantly more informative, impactful, and also entertaining, and also horrifying, because that's the tone of Behind the Bastards. So listen to their podcast. They will tell you about this far, far better, like significantly better than Sarah Wynne Williams has done, and actually discloses enough information. And if you want to feel, well, a little warm, if you don't want to get into all of the mess, I recommend reading this book. I had to take it out because I forgot the name of the author. It's a graphic novel called Illegal, by, well, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, by Ian Colfer, Andrew Donkin, and has been illustrated by Giovanni Regano. This is it's also a depressing story, by the way. Ends a little bit better. It's about refugees, and it's about how this little boy makes a journey from as a refugee on what many, many, many refugees do through the sea. So it's kind of it's heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. So if you don't want to get into all the shitty things Facebook is doing, get into all the shitty things the rest of the world is doing and read that book. I wanted to give a more heartwarming recommendation, but I realized that all of the past books that I have read are so depressing. So I couldn't find a single one which was like, oh, this is just a very happy story. No, none.
Ashmita, I have a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
I think now it's safe to say that you should try self-help books.
No, please.
You might need some help after reading so depressing books.
I
But they're
think
not helpful at all.
I think the kind of help that Ashmita needs is therapeutic. Also, I don't think the five people who listen to us expect any kind of rainbows and sunshines and flowers from you. Everyone knows that there's a deep pit of darkness within you that you want to share with everyone. And that pretty much comes through in all of your episodes. So, if anything, it's the people's
enough.
fault for expecting anything.
What do you
even remotely
mean?
optimistic from you.
I did an episode on mushrooms, dude.
There are always exceptions to the rule. But if you look at any of your other episodes, you can see there's a trend to it.
So
There's
it's
a
either
pattern.
rage, depressing topic, or there are drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you cope with all the depression, don't you?
Sure.
Sure.
If you say so. Yeah.
The world is a terrible, terrible place, in case you didn't know.
No, I didn't know. When did it become so? Hmm? How come you
Just a
find out
mean
and I'm unable to find out? Yeah.
All right, so you're done. I hope. I don't want to depress anybody any further. So
I can assure you the next episode will be very vibrant and lively, and it'll be less depressing. Let me put it that way. Because that is what I strive for, because I want people to genuinely enjoy what I'm trying to put in and not drown themselves in a deep pit of despair every single time an episode comes out. So yeah, that's my little service to humanity, if you will. So hopefully you find it educational at the very same time, a little bit enjoyable also. So just stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. And maybe I don't think Ashmita needs any external help for finding such depressing topics, but in case you feel you can, please do write to us at don'tknowdocare1@gmail.com, or the one is numerical, by the way. Or if you want to get in touch with us directly, you can do that through Instagram at the DKDC podcast. It's just at DKDC podcast. Please follow us. Please give us likes, give us ratings on whichever podcast platform you listen to us on. It helps us out massively. Please share it if you can. It helps us reach new audiences. And
Not if you can share it.
yeah. And if possible, please suffer through all the ads, that show up here, because it will help us generate a teeny tiny bit of revenue, if at all. So, yeah.
You know what? With the way we talk about ads, we are never going to get any sponsors ever. Like, even if our podcast actually genuinely grows, people will be like, the brands will be like, these guys are just being assholes to people who run ads. So no sponsors, only programmatic ads are what we are going
Yeah,
to get.
exactly. That is why we're not going to get
Yeah,
any.
Yeah. Ashmita, you are right. That is
Ashmita,
the
you're
only reason.
100%
That is the
right.
only reason we'll never get any sponsors. Not
Yes.
because we've alienated 99% of the people, but
Yes.
because we are unenthusiastic about the ads. You're absolutely
My
spot on.
God,
Ashmita.
Ashmita.
Yes. We are the problem, not you.
Wow. To abuse and take names of each and every brand we can
Yeah.
ever have like a collaboration with.
Every demographic of people she has alienated, every demographic of brand she has alienated. By the way,
Yeah.
this episode was about a certain someone who alienated everyone at Facebook while saying she was very fine. Just the pot calling the kettle black, Ashmita. The pot calling the
Excuse
kettle
me?
black.
I never said
Okay.
I was fine. I never said that. I am admitting to
you
all
know.
of this.
And while we have your enthusiasm at the lowest point, I think it's a very good time for us to sign off. So hopefully you will bring a little bit more enthusiasm the next time around, because the episode will be much more enthusiastic than this one. That's a promise. That's a guarantee. That's a
Thanks,
commitment
Sandy.
we are making to you. And on that very unenthusiastic note, we'll sign off for now. Hopefully we see you in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye bye.